Hi, everyone. My name is Garrison Anderson. I work on the marketing team at Matter, but primarily I work with our venture acceleration team, promoting our membership and how we help support healthcare entrepreneurship at Matter. So today I have a few slides that I'll give a brief overview of Matter, talk a little bit about the membership options we have for startup companies. And then we'll have some questions and discussion at the end, and I'll try to address any curiosities you may have. Um, so yeah, I'll get started and get into my slides here. So if you haven't heard of Matter before, or you're kind of new to what Matter does, our mission is to accelerate the pace of change of healthcare. And our belief is that collaboration between entrepreneurs and industry leaders within healthcare is the fastest and most effective way to accelerate innovation. And through accelerating innovation, advancing the quality and delivery of care, and then, of course, improving lives. So Matter broadly does three core things. So today we're going to talk about our startup incubation and the membership options we have within our startup incubation model. But I do want to briefly just touch on what we do as a community nexus and what we do to advance corporate innovation. So as a community nexus, we try to host a variety of different types of events, the majority of which are free and open to the public that convene people that are in the entrepreneur and tech space, and then people that are within the healthcare industry. And we believe being that community nexus and getting those people in the room is how we advance healthcare innovation. Additionally, we have a corporate innovation arm of Matter as well. Through our partnerships team, the corporate innovation work we do is collaborating with large healthcare organizations to make them more innovative. This takes a variety of forms. We do bespoke accelerator and pitch competitions with different healthcare innovation groups. For instance, we have a few open challenges with Beyond Type 1, which is a diabetes nonprofit started by Nick Jonas, and the American Heart Association right now. We also have collaborated with the likes of AbbVie and other large organizations in the past as well. So that is our corporate innovation work, and we really do that on a partnership to partnership basis. So Matter is one of the largest communities of healthcare innovators and people interested in healthcare innovation in the world. So to give you just kind of a sense of scope of Matter, we've worked with over 1,000 startups since our inception in 2015, and over 143 industry-leading hospitals, organizations, and universities. Those 1,000 startups throughout their lifetime have raised over 5.3 billion in capital. And through our reach and scope, we have a community of over 60,000 people that are either subscribed to Matter or interested in the work that we're doing and want to stay abreast of the different projects that we have going on. So talking a little bit about our startup members, you can see a breakdown on the right of the types of entrepreneurs we support. 65% are digital health or digital health with a medical device component. So that is kind of our sweet spot of the types of solutions we support. But we do have 20% that are in with the life sciences and therapeutic space, and then 10% that are more services focused, and 5% that you could probably describe as direct to consumer type products. And then our partners also are quite broad in what they cover. You can kind of see a variety of the perspectives that you would see within healthcare, whether they're a provider or a services organization, whether they're working in life sciences. We do work with a lot of associations like the American Medical Association, and I mentioned the American Heart Association previously. And then we do also work with payers and universities. We have relationships with a lot of the universities in Chicago. We are a Chicago DNA organization, but our membership does serve global. We have members from all over the globe and in different countries as well. And to speak to a little bit of that global footprint, in the last calendar year, this is kind of a summary of what our footprint has looked like. In the last calendar year, we've worked with 272 member startups, 51 corporate partners, and those corporate partners and member startups are represented in 117 cities and 11 countries. I would say primarily we are US, primarily we are Chicago, but we do have that global reach. And then here's just kind of a sizzle slide of the types of industry partners that we've collaborated with throughout Matter's history as well. So quite broad ranging in the types of organizations and the different focuses they have. So that was just kind of the Matter overview of what we do in our broader community. Now I'm going to talk specifically about that startup incubation and acceleration portion and give a little bit of an overview of the different services and the different types of experiences startups have when they enter into Matter's incubator. So our approach, we really want to develop three different things for our startup entrepreneurs. I would say our kind of sweet spot, we talked about digital health, but is in that pre-seed to Series A, Series B. That's the majority of the companies we work with fall within those parameters. And we really do a good job at helping build business capabilities and the fundamentals of building a venture in healthcare. Um, we see a lot of founders that come from a few different perspectives. Some are maybe physicians that want to create a venture, they have a solution, but they need help with the business building capabilities. That's one type of founder we support really well. We also support founders that maybe they're coming from a different space, maybe a different industry, but they've built entrepreneurial ventures, but they don't have the experience in healthcare. And we support that type of founder really well as well. We also do have a fundraising support program where we can help startups develop their pitch deck and develop their approach to fundraising. And I'll talk a little bit about that more in depth in a slide or two here. And then we do also have a vast network of healthcare professionals that are either mentors or executives and residents within Matter. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a slide or two as well. So kind of how the journey starts for most startups, and we'll send this in the chat and in follow-up communications, but it all starts with our online application and interview stage. One thing we always like to stress here is we're not necessarily looking for startups to be, raised $500,000 and be at that seed stage. We do support startups that are even earlier than that and even later than that. The application and the interview portion is really about learning about your company and learning about the resources that matter and which resources can we help you in taking that next step in your journey. So that's really about what the application and interview seeks, is just finding that right fit and making sure that the relationship can be mutually beneficial between Matter and the startups that we're supporting. So that process is there. And then after the interview, it's about a week review to get a decision of either accepted or feeling like the fit isn't quite right. So that is that timing. And then once a startup is selected and accepted into the incubator and submit their first payment, we then have an onboarding process. And one of the first things you'll do is have a discovery session with our venture acceleration team. This discovery session is about making sure that you're assigned the right executive in residence who serves as sort of your primary liaison with Matter and your coach throughout the time in the incubator. I'll talk a bit more about our executives in residence in a second, but that session is really about continuing that relationship and making sure you have the right fit. And then we'll start to build a roadmap of different resources and things that you can leverage from Matter that help you build your solution and take that next step forward in your business. So I talked a bit about these groups, but I do want to highlight each one of them individually. So I mentioned our executives in residence. Each startup member is paired with our executive in residence. And they're people that are retired executives that have either been in the healthcare industry for decades and know specific markets really well, or they've built companies themselves and exited and had success with them. So they have very informed perspectives on whatever market you may be working in. Then you also have access through our membership to our expert clinic, which is more than 100 mentors who have that subject matter expertise where your executive in residence will kind of help you map out your long-term journey. And then the expert clinic with our mentors is meant to give you sort of one-off informative sessions to help you understand and learn more about maybe specific topics you're interested in. And then while you're a member at Matter, you'll also have ongoing customer success calls with our venture acceleration team. This is really to make sure that you're able to leverage the different resources we have and for them to kind of be another guiding voice to making sure you're getting value out of the membership. I did mention fundraising support as well. So we do have a couple venture fellows, Jason Smith and Pamela York. They both have exited companies that have gone on to do really well and have been through Matter's programs and been experienced with what Matter does. And they've both also gone on to be investors themselves. So through the fundraising program, you work with the venture acceleration team and these fellows to build up your pitch deck, build up different materials you need, and go through some pitch practice sessions and get that honest feedback from the perspective of investors who've been startup founders themselves, and get that feedback so then when you actually go to the market with other investors, you're prepared and you know sort of what they may be looking at and maybe the weak points of where your company's at and how to address different concerns that may come up in that fundraising process. We have a number of companies that have gone through and then have seen more success when they do enter the market and approach fundraising through going through our preparation here. And then we do have some digital resources as well on our member portal. Our digital resources include a curriculum where we have pre-taped webinars and courses on specific topics to help people build up their business fundamentals. We do have a professional services directory as well. This is companies that have worked with Matter startups in the past. Some of them have preferred discount rates, but they're experienced with working with startups. So if you're looking at like fractional services for like fractional marketing firms, different things with CFOs, legal firms, that professional services directory has options for you to look through, and you can have some confidence that Matters pre-screened those professional services and made sure that they can work with startups and they are good to work with early stage companies. Then we also have our mentor booking through our online resources and a knowledge library as well. The knowledge library contains a lot of different things like a template pitch deck, different template grant agreements, things that can be valuable in establishing a company. And then with membership, we do have a dynamic community. So we do have member exclusive opportunities and events. We run webinars on a monthly basis where we bring in experts in the field to give an informative presentation on a specific topic to our members and then have a direct Q&A session for really in-depth topics. This can be anything from building a value proposition for health systems to navigating SBIR grants. The topics really range, but we try to make them very specific and relevant to the different needs of our members. So those webinars are exclusive to our select members and good opportunities to learn more. Then also, all of our select members have an HQ away from home. You have access to Matter's working space for co-working. You can also use Matter as a mailing address for your company. And this is a lot of people find good value out of this. And this also includes access to things like our event facilities. We have a great auditorium that holds over 100 people or around 100 people, and then a classroom that's great for workshops for up to 30 to 35 people or so. And then we do have a Slack channel as well for our members to engage with each other. So I mentioned before, we do have a select membership tier, and this is $400 a month. And this includes everything I've discussed up to this point. A few notes about this membership. We don't take equity. You maybe, if you've explored other incubators in the past, they may have equity agreements as a part of their model. Ours is no equity, no additional fees, and it's a month-to-month membership. We do find that a lot of members that are select members usually stay with us for anywhere from 12 to 24 months as they're growing from that pre-seed through Series A. But then usually at some point, there comes times where maybe they need to take a break, and we completely understand that, or they've grown out of the members that we serve really well. And there's no animosity towards that. We completely understand that as a setup, and we want our startups to grow out of our incubator and feel like they are really established and can go on to continue to have success in the marketplace. And if people leave our membership and come back, we also see that a lot too. So it's just a positive relationship even throughout. Um, so with our Select membership, like I said, it includes all of this hands-on support that I mentioned throughout, and then our member portal as well. And then we do have a free membership, but that is just the digital assets that we have and just the low touch items. So our digital curriculum, able to view our professional service directory, and able to view our knowledge library. So that's really just for someone who maybe is not ready to commit full time to their venture, but wants to explore healthcare entrepreneurship more and start to build their understanding. And that is all for the slides I have. So I will pause here and stop sharing, and then just open it up for questions. If there's any questions I can help answer. I am on the marketing team, so I have a bit of a broader knowledge set. So if it's a very specific question, I may have to follow up and redirect, but open for questions.
Perfect. We did have one come into the chat, so they're just asking a little bit more about what an executive in residence is, since they jumped in a little late.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate one more time. Executives in residence, they're people who have either worked for a long time in the industry or they built a startup and exited themselves. They work with Matter on a volunteer basis, but they want to give back their expertise and help coach new startups. So they're a broad group of people, have worked for a lot of different industries. If you do go to our website on our team page, you'll see all of our executives and residents listed and their bios if you want a little bit more specifics about each of them.
Yeah, and each startup is assigned one, so they're essentially an advisor for
Yeah.
you that you're able to kind of go to for questions and direction.
Hi, I have a question. So I feel like maybe I'm in a little bit of a unique situation. I'm a nurse and my husband is a web app developer. So we
Hmm.
created an app, but we're having trouble like getting it off the ground because we have like
Hmm.
the expertise of healthcare and the expertise of tech, but no, obviously like business, marketing, legal, like we haven't even made it an LLC yet because
Hmm.
we don't even I mean, I know it's pretty easy to like make an LLC online, but we haven't even taken that next step yet because we weren't sure exactly what direction to take it once we got like the minimally viable product.
Mhm.
That be something that Matter would be able to support as well, or do we have to already be like an established company?
Usually we'd like to have companies already have like their LLC established and all of that, but it's not necessary. I would say that's one of the good things about sort of the application and interview process. We're able to give a little bit of feedback at that point, even if it maybe is not the right time, like right this minute for you to join. We can maybe say like, hey, these are the next 2 or 3 steps for you and your husband with this venture. And then at a certain point, then it would maybe make sense to have that more hands-on support. But there are those services, whether so even in our our mentorship group, for example, we have experts within marketing, brand, and storytelling for those elements to kind of understand what the marketplace looks for in that. So you can get some guidance through that with the membership as well. I'm going to drop to, so as I mentioned, like a lot of the services that I mentioned were part of our select membership. So I'm going to drop the select page here, and then I will also drop the application form. And I've said it a few times, but it truly doesn't hurt to apply. We do see people come in and apply and then revisit the membership if now is not the right time, but it is sort of like a good relationship building process for startups to get to know Matter, our venture acceleration team, and then also kind of get a more in-depth and specific tailored pitch of how we can support you individually.
Hi, Garrison. Thanks for the informative
Hi.
session and long time no see slash chat. Same with Kay. I know that this topic, it's like the monthly Matter membership info session, but do you mind
Hmm.
touching upon like open jobs or internships that are uh, blooming out of the company of Matter?
Yeah, that's actually one thing we do want to develop a little bit more. If you go to our startups page, you can see all of the startups that are a part of our incubator right now. We are hoping to develop a job board of sorts, but currently don't have that in progress. That being said, I do think one sort of tidbit of information is when you do look at the broader Chicago marketplace, like if you even go to our website with our investors page, you can go to a lot of our institutional investors we have relationships with, and many of them have job boards of the companies they fund. And a lot of times for jobs and internships, that's a good place to go to because it's an indicator that, hey, these companies do have funding and are likely hiring. So that is a good source of just like finding those opportunities if that's kind of the route you're looking for.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great idea about literally scrolling through your endless pages of, startups that you work with and then going from there.
Yeah, for sure. Great. If there is no more questions, you'll see probably a follow-up email from Mike McGarry in the next 24 to 48 hours. He's our Vice President of Venture Acceleration, and the email will have a link to this recording in a little bit more detail about everything we've discussed here today. But feel free to reach out to me as well. I will drop my email in the chat. And if you have any follow-up questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if I need to, I will redirect them to the appropriate person. And I will also just drop my LinkedIn for posterity's sake as well. Um, but with that, thanks for expressing interest in Matter. We want to help build solutions and improve care, and that's a big part of our mission. And If now's not the right time for membership, keep an eye out on our socials and our email newsletters for different events and opportunities to just engage with the broader community. This is important work we're all doing, and appreciate everyone for joining today.